Hello. Today I want to talk about something inside the big, beautiful bill. This is something at first glance you might think doesn't affect you very much, but from my perspective as an investor, I think it does. And here's why. First of all, I kind of want to give a little bit of context. The big, beautiful bill did a lot of things. It changed quite a bit. The most significant thing that I want to talk about here today that impacts you and your future in investing is the integration of our government investing in private entities and corporations. Recently, I'm not sure if you heard this, but the federal government invested in a company called MP Materials. MP Materials is a company that invests or that deals primarily in rare earth materials, which our federal government has deemed to be an important and integral part of our national defense. So they have justified in their mind investing in this company. I personally think this is a terrible idea at any turn or any way of thinking about it. I totally understand and relate to the idea of national defense, and I'm not against that, but I just think there's better ways of going about it. The idea of the government investing taxpayer money in a private business as an investment, to me, just doesn't make a lot of sense. You look at their past experience in investing. I'm sure we all remember the solar company that went bust under Barry Obama here recently, and I'm sure there's been many other things that I could dream up right now that I think were a bad idea. I remember back during the COVID meltdown, I think it was brought to my attention that we invested in some ETFs, some bond ETFs. I thought that was a rather odd idea at the time as well. I just don't like the idea of a government investing taxpayer resources to benefit themselves and at the expense of another company. Okay, so I don't want to spend a bunch of time going into this, but you got to keep in mind, if the government invests in your competitor, right, it's very, very hard to compete with a 0% rate loan. And it skews the market. It chooses winners and losers on a parameter that's outside of what they should be chosen by, which is their best effort and their production and their company as a whole. Choosing one company over another just usually does not end well. So here's what I want to talk about. MP Materials announces this transformational public-private partnership with the Department of Defense. That's kind of what we're talking about. There has been created under this big, beautiful bill. Well, first of all, Trump changed the U.S. Department of Defense to the U.S. Department of War. But this idea of mixing public and private capital for the Department of War is now under this Office of Strategic Capital. Okay, this is a new creation here. I'm not sure when it was created, but to me, this is a new idea, right? And I think that over time, this could expand. Not real excited about this, but I think that the idea of the government investing in more critically needed is, I think, what they're saying, assets, usually minerals or raw materials of some kind, is something that the government is probably going to do more of and more frequently. As investors, okay, what do I think we need to be aware of here? I got to be honest and say that sometimes you should run from situations like this, and sometimes you should give it serious thought and maybe consider investing in it. I have no clue what these companies are going to be moving forward. But imagine this, right? If I'm sitting at a card table playing poker and I'm playing against somebody that has unlimited money, maybe they have a machine behind them that's legal, that they're allowed to print up tokens and then use those tokens to compete against me in poker. That is what it is, right? I'm not here to be a justice warrior and teach us how to change the world. I'm here to look at the world and help us assess how to make good financial decisions. To me, if I'm playing against a poker player like that, I'm probably going to lose. Similarly, this transaction, if I'm competing against a company that has no cost of capital. In other words, they get a handout from the government and they get free money to run their business. That's really hard to compete against. I'm not saying impossible, but it's really hard. So from my perspective, all that I would bring up to us today is it might make sense for us as investors to watch what companies the government invests in and maybe consider taking a position alongside of them. Like I said, I have no idea. This is not investment advice. It's just something to pay attention to and watch out for. I think that it makes some sense to consider what the government is going to do with your taxpayer resources and how they're going to throw it around at no cost. To me, this is just logic, and I kind of just wanted to bring this up to you guys. Again, who knows what the unintended consequences of this are going to be, but from my perspective, there likely will be some, and it's just interesting to see how this develops. Obviously, this will be something that we can update over time, but today, hope you enjoyed the short video and have a good day.